This is the Humans of Gaming podcast, an open and honest conversation about games, life, and belief.
Hello and welcome to Humans of Gaming. I'm Drew Dixon. I'm the chief content nerd at Love Thy Nerd and co-host of this podcast. Chris Gwaltney is here as well. Hey, Chris.
Hey, what's up? I am the chief executive nerd of Love Thy Nerd, and Drew sees fit to let me be here.
Yeah. Because we were talking earlier about how I don't think, even though you're the chief executive nerd, I don't think you have the ability to fire me.
Yeah.
So
it's because my heart won't allow it because I love you so much.
And also, we just don't have any of that,
yeah.
You know.
And what am I going to fire you from? Like doing a job for free? Hey, you're fired from doing this thing for free.
Yeah. Well, it's not exactly for free, but it's close.
Yeah,
but so we are here to talk to Greg Lobanov. Did I say your last name right?
That's the first question everyone asks me on every podcast, and the answer is always no. But I don't mind; it's okay. The way that you actually say it is Lobanov, but I like hearing different people's interpretations of it because people always kind of take it their own way, you know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What is the origin of that name?
It is Russian.
Okay, I assumed it was. So, yeah. You're like, how far back do you do?
Oh, my mom grew up in Soviet Russia, like communism.
Okay. Oof, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
But you grew up in the West?
In America. Baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
America, baby.
He said with enthusiasm.
Nice. Wow, that's cool. We'll have to talk about that more. We do have another special guest, though, because one of the things that we like to do on this podcast is honor the people that support us. So one of those people is, and it's a small way, one of the ways that we honor the people who support us monthly, who give to Love Thy Nerd monthly, is by inviting them to come on this podcast and ask a question of our guests. So this time, that is Stephanie Skiles. Hey, Stephanie.
Hey.
And you are also pretty deeply involved with Love Thy Nerd, which is cool. You're one of our editors. You've been on a trip with us and are planning to go on another trip with us to PAX South. Mm-hmm. So, and you run GameChat.
All the things. Yes.
Yeah. Give us real quick before we let you ask your question, or you just ask it. We don't have to let you, I don't guess. But before you ask your question, tell us a little bit about GameChat.
Oh, GameChat is what we call a book club for video gamers. We meet weekly on Tuesday nights currently, and we play pieces of a game or chapters of a game through the week and then meet weekly to discuss them, going a little bit deeper than like, hey, this was a cool jump mechanic, and trying to delve into character development and story and the deeper themes and meanings in the game, as well as fun stuff like art and
Yeah. And you're planning to do an episode of that on Greg's game, which I did. Yes. I just realized I didn't even announce. Greg is one of the lead designers on Wandersong, a really lovely game that we dig a lot here at Love Thy Nerd.
Yeah, the GameChat thing sounds really rad. Actually, I would love to hear that. Not even just for Wandersong, but I also look forward to your Wandersong episode.
Yeah, absolutely. We're doing the Wandersong in March. Is when we're doing that. And you can find our podcast on Switch, iTunes, and Google Play, as well as on our website at thegamechat.net.
Awesome. So, Greg, I know you were one of the lead designers on Wandersong. What else? How would you introduce yourself? Like, what else have you worked on?
What have I done? I made free games in GameMaker pretty much all throughout high school. And then okay, I'll just go backwards. So Wandersong is the last game I did. Before that, I did a roguelike card game called Coin Crypt. Before that, I did like a mobile puzzle game called Perfection. And before that, like a JRPG called Phantasmagoria. I've just been kind of like doing a bunch of stuff basically. I make like big adventure games in GameMaker. That's
Nice.
the only consistent thing. I like telling stories and I like colorful things and yeah, yeah.
I like that. It's a solid list. Well, before we jump completely into the show here, I'll turn it over to Stephanie and let Stephanie ask, because I know she's a big fan of Wandersong, and in fact, this is a big deal. Like Wandersong, I mean, I know it's got like a lot of accolades. A lot of people really loved it, but I feel like our site probably has the most important accolade that a game could possibly get.
Yes.
I'm sure you'll like put this on
Maybe
your,
the weirdest, if nothing else.
It's probably be like the first entry on your Wikipedia page for Wandersong of like, awards. And that's that Wandersong was the Son of Man. It was his first number one game of the year of 2018.
Yeah.
So
Boom. No pressure.
And Stephanie wrote the entry for the listicle that we did. So
Don't blow it.
Yeah.
Don't blow it.
So, anyway, now that I made it awkward.
Yeah, I gotta give my thanks to the big man, I guess, while we're on the topic. Thank you, Jesus.
The big guy.
Yeah.
Big guy upstairs.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm honored.
Perfect.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, Steph,
Take it away.
Okay. Well, one thing that, I've watched a lot of. I mean, I played the game myself twice, and I've watched a few playthroughs of it. People are just bowled over by just the joy in the game and the optimism and the color. But one thing that I like to ask is, while developing the game, while you and your team were developing the game and about ready to bring it out, like what was like the one big thing that you hoped players would come away from the game, either learning about themselves, the world around them, or the world itself? What was that one kind of thing that you hope that they got from Wandersong?
That's a good question. I think one thing there was kind of like a guiding light that the game kind of started from, and that was like before I made Wandersong, I did like a bike ride across America. That was my bike for a few months.
Yeah.
And I had like just a really kind of positive, life-changing experience doing that. Like I met a lot of strangers who were really kind to me, overcame a lot of just like adversity and did a lot of things I didn't really think I could do. Like when I left from like my hometown in Philly on the bike trip, not expecting to actually like finish the trip. It was kind of like, well, here's a crazy thing that I don't know if I can do, and I'll try to do it. And like the fact that I accomplished it already is just like insane. Like before I just didn't think I could do it. And yeah, I went down the East Coast from Philadelphia to like the bottom of Florida and Miami, then back up Florida and across the South, like through like Louisiana and Texas and Arizona, to San Diego, or is that? No. I didn't do this to Los Angeles, and then up the West Coast to San Francisco. So it was about 5,000 miles.
Short, so, little jaunt.
Yeah. But so like I came out of that trip kind of with a really optimistic feeling about the world and just about humanity and about strangers and just about like how, people are connected with one another and how like, we need to be compassionate and support each other and this kind of like big ideas stuff. And so at the same time,
I feel like, sorry, I'm going to interrupt. I didn't raise my hand in the thing.
That's okay.
I feel like I want to hear a story because like you've said, you experience like compassion or things. Like what's the one story from the trip that you feel like really displays that or something? Do you have one?
There isn't one. I mean, yeah, that's the thing, that there wasn't just one. It was kind of like just a daily reoccurrence. But like examples might be like, there was on Christmas Eve, I was like trying to ride. I had like a family who I was going to stay with. I was riding to their house and my bike broke down like 3 times on the highway. Like I had like spare parts, but like the tubes in my bike just kept breaking. I think like because they're on the highway, there was something in my tire. But anyway, so my bike just kept crapping out on me. And every time it happened, somebody would pull over and like had a part to fix it, or like would put my bike in their car and drive me up the road to like the next bike shop or whatever. Like people were so willing to stop and help me, and I don't know, yeah, just like being on a rush hour highway and then just meeting people, like it's just it was really nice, and it wasn't, yeah, and it's like that's not even exceptional, like in the scheme of the trip. Like that is what's crazy is like that alone would have been like, wow, this is such a nice moment where I like met these people who helped me. But it was also like that was just like one day of like every day that was, like I don't know, living the way that I was living. Like I felt I was really reliant on other people, or like I don't know, yeah, because I was lonely. I was always in a strange place, so like just to find something or to stay somewhere, like I had to meet new people.
So you're saying that the cure for all these mad people on my Facebook is to tell them to go take a bike ride?
Maybe, I don't know. I think on some level people will get like what they want out of the trip too. Like I think if I was really, I don't know, I could probably find things to be angry about too. Maybe, I don't know. or I guess for where
there's 2 ways you could have told that. Like, man, it sucked on Christmas Eve. My bike just kept breaking down. It broke down 3 times and then just stopped there. Right. But like, I think because you're choosing to focus on, hey, like, look at these cool little positive experiences that came out of this. Like that's the perspective shift, Right. That's cool.
Yeah. I think just maybe it has a lot to do with where I was in life too. Just like what like I needed, like what, because yeah, like I was gonna kind of what do you say? Continue into segue into that's the word. As I was about to segue into, like at the time, like around me, like this is in 2015, like it felt like the world was kind of already moving in a way where there was a lot of anxiety about the outside world. Like late 2015 is when Gamergate happened. So I was feeling like a lot of friction between just like outside of me, like in the game space, there was a lot of negativity in the world about just, like people were feeling, and then for good reason, but feeling really kind of like anxious and fearful about other people on the internet. It kind of felt like, man, the world is full of dark, scary strangers who want to hurt you. And like, we have to like hide from them. Whereas like I was starting to feel like, wow, actually, like I've met so many strangers and they were just so kind to me. Overwhelmingly, like my feeling was that people are actually really good, even people who, like I don't expect to, or like I don't know, just like from all walks of life, people are like just great. So that was what I wanted to kind of put into Wandersong. I think in the very beginning was that feeling of just like trying to feel love for everybody. Yeah.
Well, you did it. Congrats.
Mission accomplished.
Sweet.
Awesome story.
You felt loved as you played Wandersong, Steph?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, just the relationships that you see the bard build with the people that you come in contact with. And for this listing, the bard is the main character. But the relationships and the conversations, and just that if you listen to people and give them time and take care of them yourself, that, as Greg was saying, like in the game, they take care of you, and they listen to you and they return that. And it's just, it's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. I like that message. I feel like it's really needed in our like you talked about 2015, but like here we are at 2018.
Yeah.
When a lot of people are
still mad.
Still angry, but also kind of on all sides of the aisle, really. But like there's just a lot of, I think, people in this last couple years that have lost faith in people being decent to each other, and in the hope that comes from like believing that we can trust each other, if we'll just take the risk. I feel like that message is needed. of like just making the effort to look past what you see initially and see that there's a lot of good that we can offer one another.
Yeah, I felt like that was really important. I mean, it was funny because when I started the game at the time, it was like, it already felt kind of like subversive because it was kind of against the grain that I was seeing on the internet. And at the time I was like, well, who cares? Because like this game's going to come out in 2 years. It won't even be relevant at that point. You know, like this is like Gamergate's over. Thank goodness. You know, we're never going to see that again. Yeah. But, you know, it just gave me thoughts. And I was like, well, so I'll make a game like kind of about how I'm feeling right now. And like, you know, we'll see how it goes. And I had no way to know that over the course of those like 3 years that like the world was just going to go so far in that direction. Yeah. Like it, in some ways, the game felt more and more relevant as I was working on it. And that was like, I don't know. Yeah. Like kind of scary actually. But I am glad that, that it was able to come out and kind of like speak to people in a time where I feel like, that they need it. And it, for me, like it gave me something to kind of like focus on when the world was feeling really dark. Like this game for me was kind of like a bastion of, it was my filter that I put the world through. So when things were at their worst, I always was asking myself like, well, how does this fit into Wandersong? Like, what does Wandersong say about this? You know, like, and that actually for me was a really useful tool just for like myself, over the last few years. Yeah.
I'm curious. I want to hear more about this trip because this is fascinating to me that you took across the country. How long did it take you?
5 months I spent on my bike. Yeah.
5 months?
5 montharinos.
Man, that's shorter than I would have thought. Like you booked it, I feel like. Well, I have no, like, I don't really have a...
Drew has a bike.
I do have a bike. I've been mountain biking lately a lot. But I don't have like a frame of reference for how long it should take one to go like all the way across the country from, you know, Philadelphia to Florida and then to California. Yeah.
But I mean, the range is really big. I definitely went faster than other people, but like athletes who do this as like, for training, like they can bike across the country in like 2 weeks. That's like, I think the world record's somewhere around there. Or less. But then, you know, it depends more on what you're trying to get out of it. You know, like some people, it's like they could do the same trip in like 3 years and like stop in every place that they see, you know, just go to the next town, stay there for like a week or, you know, whatever. Right. Like,
so you tried to stop a little bit at least and take some of the world in, some of our country in, and
a little bit. I actually like, when I left on the trip, I was with, 3 other people. So we were a group of 4. And I think of the group of us 4, I was the one who was the most like goal oriented in the trip. Like I was like, well, I want to bike across America. Like that's my goal is to accomplish this or like see, not that I can do this, but like, you know, like see, like, you know, I want to try for it. I really want to make my best effort to get all the way across. So like, but the other 3 were kind of more on the lines of like, well, like let's stop here for a day. Like, oh, like this town off our path looks like really interesting. Let's go this way instead, you know. And I'd be, but that's the opposite direction. Like eventually the 3 of them one by one, like they ended up going back home. Like they kind of were like, I feel like I got what I wanted out of the trip. You know, like this was fun, but I've been here for a long time. I miss my family, whatever, you know. So they would head back, and I kept on going. So
what
like,
point were you alone?
I'm from Miami, so that.
So a lot of it.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. They basically came down the East Coast with me, and then for various reasons had to go back. So I did. Yeah, most of it was by myself, kind of. But then I also would meet other cyclists on the road and stuff. I'd ride with them. And like of the people I met, like there was just a huge range of personalities. It's actually, I don't know. Yeah, there's a whole, like when, man, I'm like, my brain's going like 5 different directions right now. I try to think about this.
Good.
I mean, I think the thing to like it sounds like it's crazy, but when once you kind of get into the groove of it, like the first like couple days, it's like, holy shit, I'm biking across America. Like this is wild. But then eventually, you know, it just becomes like, it's just your lifestyle. It's like, well, like it's your habits. Like, well, I sleep here and I wake up at this time and I get on my bike and I ride this far. And then I, you know, like that's my day. Like, that's what I do. So a lot of it stops seeming extraordinary, and like, but it does. It is like a completely different way that you kind of see the world, or at least that I saw the world when I was on that trip. Like, there's kind of like layers of society, I guess, is like how I describe it. Just like when once I was on the road cycling, it's like there were so many other people who were also cycling that like I just never would have seen. But like I'm on the trip and it's like everybody, like you see people, it's like you see people do it. It's like there's certain places that you go to and like things that you do. And when you see other cyclists who are kind of like doing like the same habits as you, you're like, oh, that's like one of us,
Solidarity, brother.
Yeah.
An ally on the road of life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's
I feel like this sense of friendship with those types of people.
Yes. Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's like a really deep sense of camaraderie. So yeah, it was like this. So I was meeting these kinds of people like on the trip, and like I don't know, like interacting with this whole different like part of life. And it did, but like again, like it wasn't really like extraordinary. It was just like where I was. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool because I think that's like one of our goals as an organization with Love Thy Nerd is that like we want to. I don't think we're there by any means. It's going to take a lot of work, but we want to be this organization that like people feel that same sense with, like, hey, these guys care about me. And, and for us, like nerd culture is the, video games, board games, geek stuff. Like that's our common bond. And, I think what you said earlier about Gamergate sort of illustrates that even though a lot of times geeks and stuff feel that same, like we do feel a sense of camaraderie because we grew up doing the same stuff or we're into the same kind of hobbies. Like there's still a lot of like, what's the word? Just awfulness out there, right? Like,
well, that's one of the, I think adversity, like shared adversity is one of the things that like creates that solidarity. I think of, times that I've gone like backpacking or hiking, like with my brother, and my dad, we like backpacked the Grand Canyon, and you're miserable. Like it is awful. Like it's just really hard. But then you pass other people and like, maybe you're on the way up and you see them on the way down and they're all like chipper and happy. And you're like, oh, you just because you got to go back up, suckers. But you have that shared bond. And I think maybe, Greg, if I'm hearing, like there's part of that too, when you're seeing these people like, oh, we just went up that hill together or we, went down that part together, like that shared adversity. And I feel that in nerd culture too, because generally speaking, we are a culture of people that have, been on the outside looking in at different points in time. I mean, not so much anymore. It's kind of cool to be a nerd these days, but like certainly we were growing up, it wasn't cool. So we have that kind of connection of like shared adversity.
Yeah, that rings true to me. I mean, nowadays, like geekdom has gotten so big. Like I don't even know. I guess it's hard for me to know even like who it excludes now because it's like everyone like superhero movies, right? It's like everyone watches those now. They're like the most mainstream thing that there is. So it's like like I don't know, but it's also true that like it's something that connects all of us too, right? Like the fact that superhero movies are like this huge thing that everyone sees. It's also like something that we all have in common, I guess, right? Like these huge things that everyone knows about, these huge stories. So
I think when I knew, it's when I was at the mall with my wife and, like the jewelry stores and malls, they're like everywhere. And we walked past this jewelry store and in front center, like dead center in the front window was like the Deathly Hallows necklace, like from Harry Potter. And I'm like, dude, we've arrived. Like we're cool now because here it is, front center, jewelry store in the mall.
Right.
That's right.
We did it.
Yeah.
What was like the hardest part of this trip?
Definitely the loneliness. Like 100%. Yeah. Like, especially when like my friends were leaving at the time, I was like, oh, great. Like those slowpokes are finally heading home. It's time for me to like, take off and soar like a bird, that I was meant to be, and finally
funny.
like really make my distance across this huge country. But then like almost immediately I was like, oh my God, I miss everyone. Yeah, and it's like I did meet so many people on the trip in different places, but meeting people in that context, like it's really hard to develop like connections with people because you are so transitive, like or transient. Like it's like I always know like, well, I'm leaving tomorrow. Like I won't see this person again, maybe ever. Like, and it's like I don't know, like some of that. It's like it made it that much more special when people did share kindness, because it was like, wow, like I'm a complete stranger to you. Like, you might never see me again, and you did this like amazing thing for me. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
But then also like that feeling of just like I don't know, yeah, just missing like that close connection, like friends, family, that kind of thing. That was really really tough for me.
Are you normally pretty like extroverted or introverted?
Yeah,
or?
I'm an extrovert for sure.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
people.
there it is.
Yeah.
Because there's introverts that would go on that trip and they're like, oh yes, I just get to live in my own head for 5 months.
Have you ever seen this?
I would literally just shrivel up and die.
You consider yourself an extrovert, Chris?
I think technically I'm kind of in the middle somewhere.
An ambivert.
But I need people. Like I can't just sit by myself in my own head.
That's I think that's actually one of the misnomers about introverts is none of us really want to be alone all the time. It's just introverts need people.
You need to recharge your batteries.
Yeah, just need people in a different way, I think sometimes.
I think the bike trip, in some sense, like it's actually like the ideal it's like the most extrovert experience, because you're meeting so many new people,
right?
And like the extrovert relationship is supposed to be like I know everyone a little bit,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
totally.
Well, that's part of what appeals to me about your trip. Really, I'm probably kind of like an ambivert as well. I can swing either way, but like I think that we so often in life, just in general, like we're constantly around people and we never talk to them. Like we go to restaurants and bars and whatever else that you do. And, there's all these opportunities we have to like make a meaningful connection, and we don't, because we've sort of been trained that that's weird or something. But this trip that you talked about being lonely on it, like you're out there on the road alone all this time. And like you see people and you're like, I want to talk to you. like I kind of like that as an experience of just sort of learning to talk to strangers in a way. I think maybe is a dying art that it sounds like this trip kind of instilled a love for that in you. Maybe
it did. Yeah, it definitely did. At least for the duration of the trip.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it puts you in a state of mind. Like I really, really did appreciate having that experience. And it made a lot of other like other games that I played actually made a lot more sense too. Like in Wandersong is actually very different from my trip for sure. But like that, the way that the bard kind of like just meets people and just like you just start learning about people so quickly, like that to me actually felt really faithful to what my experience was. Like you might think that was just like, I don't know, doing a writing thing, but no, like it's like it really was this experience of just like meeting all these different people and feeling all these voices, like that part. Yeah. And I love that experience.
Yeah. Is there someone that like stands out to you that you met that was like anyone you met on the trip you still talk to?
That I still talk to. Like other cyclists are probably the ones who I was the closest with. Like, because we actually would spend like time together. There are some people who I met, like one of people, a lot of people who I stay with them for a night or something, and I do still remember them, but I'm not still in touch with a lot of them, just because it was hard to keep contact, I guess. Like some of them, like I would try to catch up with, but it's just like, I mean, like people who actually do this kind of stuff, they meet so many. There's actually a community of like cyclists, who like do like trips like this, And then there's people who like just there's like ways to find like places to stay for cyclists specifically.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So people, and like a lot of it will be like other cyclists who've done a trip like this before. They'll be like, well, like I had, I was given a lot by the world, so my way of giving back is like, if you're a cyclist, you can come stay in my house. Like that's like I offer my home to you, basically. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is something that I owe that to. Someday I have to start doing that. I can't right now because I have roommates.
No, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
What was
where are you living now? I think you said you're from Philly, but are you there now?
I'm in Canada. I live in Vancouver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I moved up here. Before I started Wandersong, I moved from Philly to Vancouver, and I've been here since. Yeah.
That's cool. How many miles did you go a day ish?
A really solid average day would be about 60 miles once I got into the pace of it. Mm-hmm. I did one day where I did 100 and it was like 180 miles. And maybe 170. I don't remember. One like it's around there. It was stupid.
Was it just to like prove that you could, or did
it was the first day when everyone left. So
you're like,
that's funny.
This is what I've been wanting to do the whole time, and then you did 180 miles. And you're like, never again.
Never again. I also, it was like my best friend from high school actually lived in Florida. He was in St. Petersburg, which is really close to Tampa. Mm-hmm. So, and I was in Miami, and I was like, well, my friends are gone. So it kind of was a mix of like, I want to see someone I'm close with again, and I want to see like how far I can go. So I tried to do the trip from Miami to Tampa in just like the minimum amount of time. Like I just did and this is also sort of unusual because usually you're on a meandering adventure. Like you go around like Florida, you see like the coast and the beaches. I went like straight through the middle. I went like from Miami. I just cut through like farms and orange trees and random lakes and just like nothing places, like nothing pretty or fun. Like the Everglades, I biked through, just like,
No,
I was like, I'd want to get through that area pretty quick too.
Yeah.
So,
alligators.
Just kidding. If we have any Florida listeners, just kidding.
Yeah.
Man, I'm going to try to like not just make this completely about your bike ride, but I do find it fascinating. So I just have like one or two more questions about it.
Sure. Drew might be getting on his bike after this.
This really appeals to me.
We're all about bike rides.
Someday, you're gonna get a bike, Steph?
No. I honestly, truthfully, I don't know how to ride a bike.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
We know a guy.
I tried when I was younger and kept falling. And unlike the Bard in Wandersong, I just gave up and never learned. I was like, well, this isn't for me. I'm gonna go play some video games.
Never too late.
Yeah, it is never too late. I actually just taught one of my friends how to ride a bike like last year. She was 25 or 26.
Okay.
So
well, there's still hope. There's still hope.
Yeah.
You could probably at this point even teach yourself. Like
2000.
I tried. Yeah, I mean, I think it's you'd pick it right up. My 7-year-old daughter, I tried to get her to ride her bike. Well, she was 5, I guess, when she learned, something like that. But anyway, and she was not having it. Like she didn't like it. She got upset every time I tried to teach her.
Yeah.
And I try to be really patient. But one day she just I think she saw a friend of hers do it. And
that'll do it.
She picked up her bike and did it. Like first try.
Nice.
Zoom.
Peer pressure.
And it's like one of those moments as a dad where you're like, well, she totally didn't need me.
Well, sock back into the house.
Wow.
I'm pretty useless to these. That's one of those iconic things as a parent. They're like, one day I'm going to teach my kid to ride a bike. And
nope. A single tear fell from Drew's eye.
Driving the car.
I don't even want to think about that. But okay, so just last question I want to ask about, well, maybe two, about this bike ride. But what was the scariest moment?
The scariest moment of the bike ride. The scariest moment would come probably on nearly a daily basis, and it was when the sun set. Especially because I had like a habit of, I always was overstretching myself. So I wouldn't set very realistic goals for like where to get. Like, so it's the way, it's like you wake up when the sun rises and you pick a destination. You're like, I'm going to get to there, before nightfall. And you get get in touch with people in that town, like whatever, like try to figure out, like look up like places you can go to at least, something. So like I'd have a destination in mind and I'd start writing, and it's like, especially once I got into like the rural parts, like the south border and that kind of stuff, like the gaps between towns are really big. So it's like you set out from a place, and then sometimes like you don't even, there's literally like no civilization, the entire day until you get to the next destination. So like when like you're in a situation where it's like, oh, like I'm still 10 miles away from the next town and the sun's setting, and like when it gets dark, and it's I'm not even like it's like I'm scared of the dark or anything, but I think there's something very, I don't know, it felt very animal. It was just like this like really innate fear, like I don't know where I am, I can't see anything, like I'm gonna die, something's gonna come kill me, like I don't know.
That's why Wandersong is so bright and full of color.
Like it's all, well, it's bright in the face of adversity, I guess, right? Like most crucially. But yeah, so like those like really scary, that was always really scary, I guess. Yeah. And like two times like a car almost hit me. Actually, one time a car did hit me. That was on my my last day. But it was that it wasn't even that scary actually. I was totally okay actually.
It just clipped you or something?
We collided, like, now I'm like thinking about it. It's been a long time. I like knocked the guy's mirror off. So like we hit like pretty directly, I guess. And it was both of our faults, or like as much mine as his for sure. As I was on my last day of the trip, and I was just like totally like tunnel visioning. But
just getting done.
Yeah, just getting it done. Yeah. But that wasn't so bad actually. It was way scarier the times when the car like the times where the cars almost hit me and missed. Like those were like pretty scary, because those ones were, it was like on the highway going really really fast. Like I would have died for sure. Yeah. But the nighttime thing was like a much more like that's like a moment happens, you're like whoa, like your heart rate goes up. The nighttime thing is like you go, like you sink into just this like what becomes like just constant terror basically. It's like it's dark and it's not getting brighter, and I don't know, like I gotta find a place like that kind of thing. Yeah.
That sounds rough.
Yeah.
And last question about your bike ride, and we'll shift gears. What was the most beautiful part? Like, what was there an area you rode your bike through that just like stands out to you? It was like just an amazing moment.
I think the thing I like to bring up is Joshua Tree National Park, which is in California, which like is a beautiful place, but in my experience was especially beautiful because like for me it represented basically the end of like the end of the hard part of my trip, because I was going across like the south border, like riding west. Like the high point, like there's kind of like a peak like altitude somewhere in the middle, like in like Arizona or something, and then Joshua Tree. It's like I biked through a desert for like a week or two, and then climbed like this like really steep mountain to get to that park is like at a high altitude again. And once you're up there, it's gorgeous. Like you see mountains forever, beautiful trees. And like and I had this knowledge, like from here I just coast down this mountain and I'm at the ocean and like the trip's over. So like I felt this really huge sense. It was just everything at once. It was just like feeling hugely accomplished, and like I just climbed a huge mountain and it was easy from here. Like I was basically done, and it is like even like if I was just ranking things as like natural, like naturally gorgeous, like it is just like a really really great place. So that one stands out to me. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, I'm inspired now. I don't know if I'll bike. I have like had dreams of one day like backpacking the Continental Divide Trail or the Appalachian Trail or something. I've always thought that would be cool.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I have some friends that just did what's it called? It's in France and goes to Spain, or Spain and goes to France. Santiago? Is that the name of it? I don't know. It's this trail. It's this old like pilgrimage trail in Europe, and it's hundreds, I don't know how many miles long. but they're older, like they're retired, I think they're in their 50s, maybe pushing 60s.
Yeah.
And hiked this thing like hundreds of miles.
That's what I think about hiking and biking. Biking even more so than hiking. You can do it till you're pretty old,
Yeah, biking. Yeah, it's actually one of the things you don't get worse at as you age. Like I think the most common demographic of people who do that trip are like retired people. It's a thing that you do, and it's like, well, I'm not working anymore. Guess I'll bike across America, and they're pretty good at it. Like they would definitely pass me pretty often.
Yeah, it's not that unlike why I recently started mountain biking again. I grew up mountain biking like when I was in like high school, college, graduate school, that era of my life. And then I just hadn't for like almost 10 years. Well, not 10 years, like 8 years or so. My bike was like the tires had dry rotted and stuff. And I turned 36 recently, and my wife and I went on this trip to like Zion National Park and Bryce Canyon and different parts of Arizona and stuff. I don't know, it just like clicked in me that I wanted to be outdoors more, and so I got my bike fixed, and I've been biking like 2 or 3 times a week on my mountain bike. But it's great because like it's not so, you go on a long run or something, it's not so hard on my joints and stuff. I sounded like an old man. I'm not that old, but I did start having. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just running is really intense. I know that. Like it's arguably like not even that good for you to do for an extended period of time. Yeah.
Yeah, it wears on your joints pretty bad after a while, and so biking's much better. But I just sort of realized like I'm 36. Like this could be literally the midpoint. I mean, my grandfather died when he was like 72, so like I could literally be at the midpoint of my life. Like, what do I? So I thought that mountain biking was a much like more reasonable midlife crisis to have. That was my choice.
Yeah.
And, like an extramarital affair or buying a sports car or something.
Right. Oh, you saw the decisions in your head and you were weighing them equally, and you're like, I think mountain biking.
Yeah, mountain biking is the one. That's the one.
Yeah. My wife appreciated it. That I made that choice. So anyway, let's talk about you. Like, where'd you grow up and stuff?
I grew up in I was born in Philadelphia. As I was growing up, I moved to lots of different places. Like I lived in Michigan for like a year on the Canadian border, but mostly in the area of Philadelphia or like suburbs of Philadelphia. Yeah.
Cool.
We were just there for PAX Unplugged.
That's right.
Oh, cool. Oh, how was that actually?
It was great.
Cool.
I really enjoyed it. Steph was there. Yeah. Are you still on, Steph?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy Philadelphia?
Yeah, Philly. I mean, when you go to conventions like that, there's not much time to look around, but it was my first time there. Saw the market across the street, the
Reading Terminal Market.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it was like
she saw
super
it.
busy.
You go into it.
No, I did go into it, but it was super busy.
Okay.
And
it
was pretty much just like.
And it closes at like 5 p.m. or something.
It's like a lunch thing. Yeah, it's a lunch thing. It's not really there for a convention.
It's weird.
I don't think they were thinking about that.
Yeah. Okay, so Greg, we have to ask because so we stayed, our Airbnb was in Camden, New Jersey.
Okay, yes.
And every time we told a local person that, they like gave us this look of utter fear. Like they couldn't believe we were still alive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that bad though. Like
I didn't either. We had a lovely experience. Yeah, we were fine. But everybody, like, I don't know if it just has a reputation.
I mean, Airbnb was great, but the street, I mean, we weren't like hanging out on the streets outside for that long. Like it was pretty much in and out. Like park the car, go inside. We were fine inside, sure.
I think people just have like a lot of like myths. I don't know how else to call it. Like in Philly, it's not even like about like what really happens. It's just kind of like, it's like, it's just the thing you tell each other. It's like, oh, like that's the bad part of town. Oh, New Jersey,
Yeah.
Jersey. I mean, come on. Yeah. Even though it's like right across. It's right there.
Literally right there. Yeah. It might as well be Philly.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, so I think it's like a thing people do, it's just like a joke or like a way of speaking, I guess,
Yeah.
But I'm sure
But you
Camden's
had
fine.
you had a good experience growing up in New Jersey?
I didn't grow up
Philadelphia.
I didn't grow up in New Jersey.
Sorry, I just had New Jersey on the brain, but you had a good experience growing up in Philadelphia, is what I mean.
I had a really good experience growing up in Philadelphia. Yeah. I think Philly's actually a really special place for like a lot of reasons. I gravitate this because I'm a little bit biased, but I've noticed that like a lot of great artists come from Philadelphia, and I think like examples I think of are like David Lynch, like he had like his like big artistic awakening in Philadelphia. Yeah. Or
that's cool.
Oh man, Tim and Eric, they're also like from Philadelphia, like very Philadelphian artists. They do like this like surreal, absurdist kind of comedy. They're like, I think they were on Comedy Central or Adult Swim or something. If you go on YouTube, you'll find their stuff. It's really unsettling, but they like. Okay, actually, I'll tell you like a little bit about their style because I think this is relevant to what I was going to say. Like what they like to do is like they do this kind of like late night infomercial thing. They have these like characters that are kind of like awkward guy in front of the camera, like guy trying to sell you something, and it always gets really weird. But they have this kind of fascination with just like TV and entertainment, but not like the glitzy glam, like not good actors, not the entertainers, but just like all kind of the weird parts of it, just like weird, unsettling commercials or awkward news people. Like this is like their favorite thing. This is like what they make comedy about. And Philadelphia as a place is like where most cities are, I think, really kind of like there's a really clear hierarchy of location. Like, like here's the good part, here's the bad part. Like if you're like this, you live here. If if your family's from here, then you live in this part of town. Philadelphia like is way more jumbled up. So like you have people from like, for example, like at a given like food truck or like a restaurant, you have people from all walks of life kind of in the same place really often. And it feels like, and it's also, it's a city of, it's called like Philadelphia means the city of brotherly love. So like everything about it is kind of like, I feel like it's a place that really wants you to kind of see everyone around you and really like think about people around you. Like it feels like the entire community of Philadelphia, as big as it is, like there's a really strong feeling of community. Yeah. Like it feels like all the people in that city have a presence with one another. I think that's really important. Like that's a really unique thing about that city.
Yeah. Cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I can see a little bit of that.
It's kind of funny. The last time we had Steph on a podcast with us, our guest is from Jersey. Kat, she's from Jersey. And hearing you, like you're gushing about Philly and it's just so wonderful and you had a great experience. And she like railed on Jersey the whole time that she was on the podcast, like just cursing the very heavens that Jersey even exists. Just funny.
Yeah.
So it's nice to hear someone who really loves their hometown.
Loves where they're from.
I definitely love like that spirit of Philadelphia where it's coming from. I think it's really beautiful.
And so what did your parents do growing up? Like what was that?
So I was saying earlier, like my mom was from Russia. In the early years of my life, it was just me and my mom. Actually, she worked as a paralegal, and then she married my dad, who was he studied political science, and then he became a political science professor. That's when we moved to like Michigan, and then from there he moved into doing professor stuff wasn't really working out, and he worked instead in pharmaceutical marketing research. That's what he actually does.
Okay.
And my mom moved into doing public relations, so she works with like arts organizations in Philly, like choirs and stuff.
So both your folks are still around?
Yep, still kicking.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And you have sounds like you have like a good relationship with them. Is that true?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I don't know. I'm worried they're going to listen to this and judge what I say.
We'll have them on next week and ask them what they think.
Yeah. I mean, like, we're definitely not like, there's not like some, I didn't like run away from home. I didn't like tarnish their name or anything like that. Yeah.
Cool. And was like religion a part of your upbringing? Did you grow up in a church or anything?
I went to many Catholic schools. My mom had a really complicated relationship with religion, actually. You probably love to talk to her. Sorry, I'm not. Like she, like in Russia, like I think it was like was an Orthodox tradition, which was kind of like the state mandate. And like to like classic Catholicism, like Bibles were illegal in Russia. Like you couldn't have them. When she was in college, or yeah, it was college. Like, so she met this guy from America who is a construction worker, ostensibly, but what he actually was a CIA operative who was like working in secret in Russia, like posing as a construction worker, and he was smuggling Bibles into the country, and actually trying to spread like faith into Russia.
So was he a CIA agent who was actually a missionary?
Yeah, I think he was both. Or I mean, like,
dude, I want to meet that guy.
Yeah,
there's a story there.
So she actually like was baptized in secret, like with the whole thing, and then I think she okay. So like she was questioned once by the KGB about him. He like disappeared. I think he fled the country or whatever, and he was suspected of some stuff, and they questioned her about him, and she protected his name. Yeah, so like for her, like where she was in Russia, like Catholicism actually was like subversion. It was like, for her, it was a way to be like, fight the power. Like, I'm gonna like baptize myself.
Yeah. Kind of like, in addition to being a faith, for her was also like a source of independence.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So yeah, when she came to like America, like I think she still had a lot of faith with her. She had like a really, really difficult life, and that I think gave her a lot of strength. So like when I was growing up, like I went to a Catholic school. And then my dad's, she married this guy, my dad, and his side of the family, they're like really Irish Catholics, so they did lots of church stuff. But that was my first church experience, was like going with his mom to church or something. But he himself actually wasn't religious like at all. So I had like a
cultural thing for him.
Yeah. So like, yeah, my dad's side of him was religious. My dad himself was not religious like whatsoever, like very atheist. And my mom was like as she's gone, like not really, like she's a spiritual person. I think not necessarily like a faithful person, like not like Catholic, but she does believe in a lot of like, I think she believes in a God and like a lot of like kind of specific spiritual, like in the soul, that kind of thing. So I had kind of both of those sides growing up around me.
And neither of them clicked for you, or where did you land? I'm just curious.
I think like for where I am right now, I'm definitely in a different place than I think either one of them. But growing up, like when I was like a little kid, I mean, like it's, well, I guess this is the kind of stuff you want to know about, like, because it was me and my mom at first, and she marries like my dad, and I like as a little kid, I was like really eager, I guess, to like impress him, kind of. That makes sense. Like I really wanted a dad, and like I wanted to like integrate him into our family.
So this is not your biological father?
No.
Okay. Right.
But so like I think
your mother married him at like what age?
I was like 5, okay. I think 4 or 5, maybe 6. So it's pretty young. But so like one like, oh man, what was I saying?
You wanted to impress him.
Yeah. I really wanted him to like, I guess I wanted to form this relationship with him. So like I have this, it's very like a very like kind of typical, I don't know like what to call it, like flavor of conversation would be, it's like they're like having like a kind of like a fun debate. Like he'd be like, oh no, it's definitely like this, and she'd be like, no, it's like this, and I would like take his side pretty much like 90% of the time. I was like, no, mom, like he's right, it's totally this, like whatever. It's not like I have any context to know, right? So like I think when it came to a lot of this kind of stuff, like I kind of became I thought atheism was really cool. I was like, oh yeah, like my dad's really smart and he's really cool. He's a professor and he's atheist, so I'm atheist too. Like there's no God. Even though then I was also going to Catholic school. Like I went to a Catholic middle school, probably the worst years of my life, and there was like a really deep sense of I don't know. Actually, I had a really negative experience there. Yeah, because like I didn't really have like I was atheist. And and I felt really like separate from a lot of my classmates and like the culture of the school, and like people knew that about me. Like there was this like really like deep friction between me and the students around me, and there also were a couple like moments where that like okay, this is like this feels like I'm railing. But this is like a memorable like thing that happened. So like at the Catholic school, like every year, you had to do something like 20 hours of it was called Catholic service, not community service, but Catholic service, where you do something to help your community or whatever. Which is nice. 20 hours is like a lot, like especially for like I don't know, middle school student. But that was that. But so also every single year, my class would organize a trip to Washington D.C. for the pro-life rally they do there every year. And so it was like the entire class left for a whole day. They did this trip, and if you went on that, it counted as like 12 hours towards your Catholic service, just automatically. So it wasn't mandatory. It just gave you like most of your credit towards your hours.
Most students probably did it because they just wanted to not 12 hours.
And actually, every student did it except for one. And it was me. And then it wasn't like actually like for me, like I was like 11 or 12. Like I didn't even know what abortion was, to be honest. And like so the way this is presented to me was just like, hey, like here's a way to fulfill your Catholic service requirement like really easily, and you get a day off school. Like sounds great. So I was like, I want to do this trip, and my parents were like reading this thing. They were like, I don't know, man. Like, you don't even know what abortion is. Like, this is really not right for you to go and like stand up for this. And also because my mom, like, both my parents were like pro-choice. They were like, I don't agree with this, first of all. And like, if you do, that's totally cool. But you don't even like, you can't even talk to us about this because like
you're 11.
Like you're 11. Like it just doesn't feel right. Like I don't feel right sending you on this trip. So they were like, no. And I was like, man, like my parents are so lame. They didn't let me like, like it was just the whole thing was really weird. But I mean, like now, honestly, now I really respect that decision. Like I agree with them. I don't think it's really cool to send kids on a trip like that, especially because the things that people do, like people have like signs that are like really graphic. It's like when like people would come to our school to visit, for example, like presenters, like stand-up comedians, or like people like like they'd be like, oh, like I have this show to put on for students, and sometimes the sixth graders wouldn't be allowed to go because it's like, oh, he talks about sex, it's too graphic. But then you can go down to DC for this pro-life rally where people have like models of mutilated fetuses, and it's like, well, that's fine. It's like that kind of thing, right? Like. That kind of stuff was going on. So we I like this is like the biggest, like most obvious thing, but in little moments all the time there was always this kind of feeling of just like friction, like I don't fit in, like I'm not supposed to be here, like there's something, like that kind of thing. And
that was like kind of tied to this at the time, you being an atheist.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think like I was like I wasn't I've never been like a really like strong, I don't know how you say this. Like I was ready to like kind of change my mind about anything, basically, Yeah. But I wasn't, I wouldn't, I don't know, maybe if I went back in time, looked at myself, I'd feel different. I feel like I wasn't like an asshole atheist, like I wasn't like, I didn't like try to start debates about it. I wasn't like trying, I wasn't like, I'm proving you wrong, that kind of thing. It just was like, I didn't have that faith. I wasn't baptized either.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like so many, like, we had like at least once a month, sometimes more, like we would go to like a mass, just like a mandated mass. Like everyone in school just goes to like the church and does like a mass thing. And I just like didn't know anything about the process and didn't know what to do. Like for communion. Like I would go up for the communion and they'd be like, oh, you can't take this. Like, you're not baptized. Like that kind of thing. I went to like a confession once and I just like felt really weird about it. Like, like it was just.
Can't imagine why you felt like an outcast.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that. Like, I mean, I remember going to some Catholic church services with some friends of mine, like when I was a kid, and like I just didn't know all the things that you do in the service and like communion and all those kinds of things. I'm like, why can't I don't get it. Why can't I take communion? But you had to do that like all the time. You had to be in those kind of situations like all the time because it was your school.
Yeah.
So
totally.
Every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel you. So where do you land now? Like, do you have a? Do you still consider yourself an atheist, or what do you?
I'm not an atheist. I don't think. No, I mean, I don't closely examine my beliefs that often. I think of myself. I think of myself as like a spiritual person for sure. Like I do. Like I believe that there are things that that exist that people can't see. Like I feel like that's true. Like I believe in something like a soul. You know. I think like when I like the image of the universe that like I most connect with is like I like the idea of the like okay, so I see consciousness in everything. That's something I really really like, and I like the idea that like all of the universe, like we're all kind of like part of this one big thing, and we're all connected somehow, and we're all like it's not like not that there's necessarily like a goal or direction that we're moving towards a specific point, but we are just by the nature of the fact that we are like all together and we are all like acting and doing something, like we are going in a direction, like we're like we're all kind of like part of some kind of movement together. Like that's like something that I feel like pretty strongly about. But and that's I don't have like a name. I bet there's a name for that, but I don't know what the name for that is. That's like
it's the Force.
The Force, right? Yeah, I believe in we're all Jedis, and no, but midi
Don't you dare! Don't you even dare!
I don't dare. But yeah, like that's like the thing that like I kind of ascribe to. I don't have a name for that, and like I think more importantly, like what actually I believe really strongly in compassion for other people and the value of human life, or just life in general, the value of life and yeah, human compassion. And I try to like I mostly want to think about like I guess like one thing that I don't like about like a lot of big idea like belief stuff is that like what I want is like practical like things to do. Basically, I want to know how to act in my daily life in a way that I feel is like consistent with, and I want to be like a good person basically. And the way for me to be a good person, not to believe something good, but to like do good things.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I try to think more.
I think that's such a powerful point, especially, I mean, me and Drew's context is like Christianity, but I think Christianity has become this like, believe the right things instead of do the right things.
Right.
And I think, that was Jesus's whole shtick was like, hey, do the right things, like go and be compassionate and serve the poor and serve your enemies and like all this love. But somehow we've still turned it into like, okay, well, let me believe the list of right things and it doesn't really matter what I do.
Right. Yeah. That to me is like, I don't know. Yeah. That thing kind of bothers me. So yeah, like I
too. I get it.
Yeah. So I try to think about like, practical things, just like, I believe in compassion for other people. I believe everyone's valuable. I believe everyone's like worthy of respect. And so given if that's true, if that's like my baseline that I always come back to, like how do I act right now? Like how do I treat this person? How do I treat the situation in a way that's consistent with that? Like that's what I try to come back to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you can see that pretty clearly in Wandersong. Like it's this game about loving your neighbor, like loving even people who you might perceive to be your enemies. Like if you would just, to me, it's this game that makes me more hopeful when I play it about people, because you step away going like, maybe if I just like make an effort to understand where people are coming from, or maybe if I just make an effort to be kind and help somebody out in a situation, maybe it might change things, which I think is like a really, like a really beautiful idea that it's hard sometimes to believe. Like we were just talking about 2018 a bit ago. Like that can be hard to believe in this day, I think, in our current like situation in the United States and stuff. But I still think it's true. And some of the things that are like most important to motivate the way we live are also the hardest to believe sometimes, I think. So, and to me, that's kind of what the game is about, which I think is really beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. Like
I don't know. Would you push back? You made it along with along with a couple of friends. Like,
Allegedly.
was that like intentional on you guys' part?
Yeah, I mean, like that's just absolutely. I mean, it's that stuff. I don't know that we the game came from that place of like having those kinds of feelings, and I didn't want to make it preachy or anything like that. I do think like because we who worked in the game, like we do just believe this stuff, like absolutely. I think that those values come through in the game, without us having to like say it.
Right.
Yeah.
And because just like with like like the way that I try to make my games too, it's like it's not about like I don't want to say like I try to make it so that like I want people to reach their own conclusions, I guess is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Kind of the same way, like it's not really about like telling the player something really good, but about like kind of like demonstrating, through practice, right? Like I didn't want to like just like I didn't try to like make up a situation. Like I didn't try to invent like, okay, here's a situation where like optimism is going to solve your problem. I tried to just like think about real problems, and then I had these characters I threw out these problems, and I just like tried to let these characters solve those problems the way that made sense to them, so that like what you see isn't like an invention that's meant to like give you a message. And just trying to like I'm just creating a space to like explore these problems and like show how I mean like not trying to show anything, but I do think like I don't know our values like and our values like empower those characters, and those characters like make decisions that I think demonstrate that like there is power in compassion, like the fact that you can see these things and believe them, right? Like I don't know, there was an element of like there's a lot of things like things in the real world that don't exist in Wandersong. Like there's certain problems that aren't there, I guess. So like that's like one kind of like I don't know adjustment we made. But I guess like one kind of goal with Wandersong was to kind of like like I wanted to give a picture of what a good world looked like. I think that was like kind of a big goal, if that makes sense. It wasn't about like I don't know, like you can, because you can't like look at problems in the real world and you can't just say like here's a step by step on how to fix this. You can't say like well just do this and everything's fixed. Like even like saying like oh just like give compassion, like whatever the problem is, just like show compassion, the problem's fixed. Like that's not, you can't fix everything that way. But I think most importantly what I wanted to do was like say okay, well maybe we can't all agree on methodology, but I at least want to give a picture of something we can agree on. Like I want to like like if we have at least can have a shared vision of what like a good world looks like, then I think like we're one step closer to like working towards that. That's kind of like more what I saw Wandersong as. And like in that sense, like actually like when you guys gave me like the Jesus game of the year or whatever, to me that was like a really big win, because I don't really feel I don't like well obviously because Jesus is a big deal, but also because because like I don't really feel that close with like the Catholic tradition, obviously. But so for someone to kind of say that like like this is a game that to me like this represents like what my ideals kind of are, right? And for someone to say like hey, like as someone who's like traditionally Catholic, like this also represents like my ideals for me. Like to me that's a big win, because it's like hey, like that feels like a moment of like reaching across the aisle. Like hey, here's somebody who like there are probably the stuff that we don't agree on, but like we can agree on this game, and like that's way more important to me than anything else. Like anything that we could disagree on is so much less than like this shared vision of just like peace and understanding, compassion and human happiness. Like that's the most important thing.
Meeting a fellow cyclist on the road after a long day.
Yeah.
and it's dark and you're scared.
Yes.
And that person shows up and it's like, hey, we can do this.
Yeah. Yeah, so, totally.
Brought it all back together.
That's beautiful.
No, man, this has been great. Like we've gone about 10 minutes over what we told you we would. Or I don't know if I told you, but we usually shoot for about an hour.
Oh, I had no idea.
We could have just kept going. But no, man, I want to respect your time. And it was really lovely talking to you, man. It was great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
We'll have to have you on I'll do a midlife crisis podcast where I just ask you a whole bunch of questions about your bike trip and then decide if I want to do something like that.
Contribute to Drew's midlife crisis.
Yeah, I'll be working on it. I'll come up with a good idea for a midlife crisis podcast. No, but seriously, really enjoyed having you on. We love Wandersong. Jesus loves Wandersong, so who cares what we think, right?
Right.
JC's into it, so no, but yeah. Any projects you're working on that you'd want to like mention before we close out here?
I have projects I'm working on, but they're secrets, so I won't mention them.
I understand. And where can people find you online?
My personal website is at greg.style. I'm also at Lobanov on Twitter, Banov. And if you like this podcast, you should play Wandersong. I'll say that too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's on like everything, right? Switch.
It's everywhere.
Well, everything it's on Switch, so it's everywhere.
It goes everywhere with me. I mean, that's the point. Right?
Yeah. We are. The Switch is the only console we're on, but we're also on PC and Mac.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was on other consoles.
We definitely want to be. So
cool.
keep
in
touch. Yeah.
Cool. Great. Cool. So we'll go ahead and confirm that it's going to be on PlayStation 4 and Xbox. I almost said Xbox 360.
I'm gonna talk to Mr. Sony and Mr. Microsoft, and
we'll get us
get us hooked up. All right.
Yeah,
they're big supporters.
It's actually Mr. Sony and Mrs. Microsoft.
Oh, sorry. My apologies.
A little bit sexist, but I'm gonna let it slide. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I guess that's it. Okay. You can follow Love Thy Nerd on all the social medias. Just search for Love Thy Nerd. We have a great Facebook community. So if you search for Love Thy Nerd on Facebook, there's going to be two things that come up. Love Thy Nerd, like that. Love Thy Nerd community. That's our Facebook community. So if you want to chat it up about nerdy stuff with other nerds, it's a great place to do that. What else? We have 3 podcasts. We have a whole podcast network. This is one of those 3 podcasts. We also have Free Play, which is sort of a general nerd culture podcast. They get into all kinds of issues and topics around nerd culture, and it's just super fun to listen to. Yeah, it's great. And then we have a brand new comic book podcast called The Pull List. So go check that out as well. If you're a comic nerd, you'll love it.
I don't think we can keep calling it brand new. Yeah, they're on episode 5 or 6 now.
Still pretty for podcasts. That's still new. That's pretty new, I feel like.
All right, you do what you want.
Okay. I mean, when they get on our level, which will never happen if we keep going.
It's an endless mountain.
Yeah. They'll never reach us as long as we keep putting out a podcast every day, which is really my goal. Is just to be everyone else.
Be better than everyone else.
That's right. Yeah. No, that's great. Go listen to this podcast. Go check out lovethynerd.com. You can read our list where we mentioned Wandersong as number 1 on the games Jesus loves, but there's a whole podcast about how we landed on the list that we have, but there's actually 12 games. Jesus is so loving that he didn't just do 10 games of the year, 12.
With the extra mile.
One for each disciple, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, oh.
I think that was actually something that made it into one of our tweets or something.
Yeah. So it's 11 disciples because you don't count Judas and then Jesus.
Well, yeah. Screw that guy.
Yeah.
One for himself. His favorite was Wandersong, and then he chose one for
for each disciple. Yeah.
The other 11.
Not bad.
Anyway, but go check those out, and that's it for us. And thanks again, Greg. This was awesome.
Yeah. Thanks very much to you too. Yeah, this is really nice.